penguin PJs, constant self-inflicted awkward situations, hot teachers, and thank God for Hugh Grant. That's right. This week we are breaking down 2025 rom-com Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy with Renée Zellweger, Leo Woodall, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Currently streaming on Peacock if you haven't seen it. Welcome to the RomCom Rescue podcast, a brand new podcast where we bring the love and life lessons from your favorite rom-coms. I'm Kira Sabin. I'm a healthy dating educator, a certified coach, and a positive psychology practitioner. But more importantly, I spend my days teaching the skills and mindsets of dating.
And I'm Dr. Isabel Morley. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and an EFT certified couples therapist. And I help couples have the happiest, healthiest relationship possible. Join us weekly as we break down the best love lessons from your favorite rom-coms so we can all get into the best relationships possible. Because we believe that we create our own happily ever afters.
And welcome back, everybody. We are so excited to be here. Welcome to RomCom Rescue. We've had to take a little break due to illnesses and COVID, but we are back talking about what I think is the really mediocre new Bridget Jones diary, but I can't wait to see what you think, Izzy. Let's get into it. What did you think of the new Bridget Jones?
Listen, I had high hopes because I have fond memories of the previous Bridget Jones. And yeah, I was much younger when I watched them because it was a while ago. I gotta say, here is the way I can distill my feelings about it. When it came time to do a second watch, I couldn't do it. Not because I hated it, but no part of me wanted to spend another 2.5 hours rewatching it because I was bored by it. Is that terrible?
No, I think it was boring. I think that it was just a big throwback to the former Bridget Jones. It's supposed to be like a nod and a wink to all the Bridget Jones diary fans. And I, by the way, am the perfect age for this. Like, I was super into the first book and the first movie. I remember going with friends. I've seen all of them multiple times, right? It was
a phenomenon.
A big deal it really was at the time. It really was. The fact that they brought in Colin Firth as Mark Darcy after him being Mr. Darcy on Pride and Prejudice just a few years before. It was such a kind of perfect mix. Had been who had done Notting Hill, and he had done
aggressive.
To me, when the first came,
I think it was like she was not the super, super skinny actress that was the rage back then. She had a slightly different body, not even crazy different, but it felt like it was moving into new territory of body acceptance and being imperfect. It was a really exciting time, and this film captured all of that, but not this one.
But not this one for me. And they killed Colin Firth.
Oh my!
Let's just talk about the ridiculousness of this. That when I saw that there was going to be a fourth one, I'm like, wait a second.
What's there left?
It took us 3 movies for them to finally get together. If we have to go through this again, I'm out. And then I find out they killed him off, and I'm like, oh man,
that was
fuck you guys.
Brutal.
No, not okay.
No.
Not okay. And I can call this maybe a comedy, questionably. I can call this maybe a film aimed at grieving a dead spouse and being a single parent. I could not call this a rom-com.
Yeah,
I can't.
I agree.
The romance was ridiculous. We don't even know the leading man's real first name until the last 3 minutes. And they have 4 scenes together.
But Kira.
And then are together. Are you kidding me, people?
Honestly,
are you kidding me?
Even the leading man? It's Leo Woodall for the whole thing. It's Rockster. Rockster is the romance story.
Is that a real name? Rockster?
We just accepted that his name was Rockster, and we didn't ask any questions. What was that about?
Well, when he took off that shirt, I understand why none of us asked any questions. Since we're just getting to it, that age difference was gross to me.
Yeah.
She's in her 50s. I'm in my 50s. I just actually Bridget is officially 52 this year.
Okay.
I kind of announced that that's how old she is. I'm 51.
Okay.
So like I said, I was really there in the age range when it came out. And this has just made me sad.
I know.
And here's the biggest thing of why it made me sad. because they have not had her character evolve in any flipping way.
Oh my God. She is permanently
Zero.
Stuck at age, I would say like 16. She is not grown up an iota.
I would have given her 24 maybe, but 16 is pretty fair. The way that she reacts with people, the way that she just kind of
Bumbling
checked
through
out,
life,
the way that she is not making any kind of thoughts from intention on important fucking things such as starting to date, starting to bring people into our kids' lives, you know, how she talks to her kids about grief. We will get into that, but oh my God.
Even being jealous of the babysitter.
I was really kind of upset.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was weird.
What was that?
That was so weird. Jealous that the babysitter is like doing a better job taking care of your kids than you are. How about you look in the mirror and think about what that says about your parenting and or just be grateful. But this weird competition and trying to catch out the babysitter for not doing something for the kids was like, what's going on, Bridget? You're in your 50s.
Get the fuck over yourself, right? I wanted to see Bridget in her 50s and she's messy like us because she doesn't give a fuck. Not because like she's just making poor ass choices. The same poor ass choices that she made 30 years ago, right? That's what I wanted to see. A strong woman, the only person that I thought had any kind of sanity as we go into kind of what was this and what did we think and everything else. But to me was the always amazing Emma Thompson as her gyno. She was the only one like, you don't need a man. You need a job. You need a purpose. You need a meaning. I was like, that's exactly what she needs. Yeah. She did not need any of the men in her life. What she needed was to figure out how to get her and her kids through the grief process a little bit easier and a little bit smarter, because that to me is but before we dig into all of it, if I can,
let's do it.
We do have a couple questions
we do
for each other that I want to pause because I think they're very, very important, because a lot of times, guys, we have questions for each other that come up and then we share them like right before we're going to go on. So I see that you have a question for me.
I do.
And I definitely have a question for you.
This is great. I think this is going to say a lot about us, okay? What is the most casual attire that you've worn in public and not, so like we see Bridget Jones in like full pajamas taking her kids to school where she knows teachers and other parents. So not just like running to a store to grab something, but like where you know you might see people who know you. How casual do you go, Kira?
I feel like I am just got out of bed looking at all times or to the
Dolled
nines
up.
and nothing in
between. Really?
For me turning 50, like I don't give a shit. I don't wear makeup most of the time. I wear some level of a yoga pants or leggings because they're fucking comfortable. I have invested in a bunch of what I have on here is bamboo. I have 3 items that are bamboo because it's cooling because of perimenopause. Nice. And I live in comfort and I have zero interest in not living
so you would wear
in comfort from this point on.
Penguin pajamas going out when you would see people? Because you look nice. I hear what you're saying. Comfort is first, but you're very presentable right now.
In the past, 100%.
Really?
Like I used to live across the street from a grocery store, and I would literally roll out of bed, put on maybe sometimes slippers, sometimes Birkenstocks, that kind of
slippers,
thing,
really?
and just walk across the street. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. We're at different levels.
I have no shame in that game. I am comfort plus at all times. What about you?
Oh man, I am not. I have shame.
I feel like East Coast. Is that a East Coast, you think? Like, do people just look a little bit nicer? Madison is a very, very casual city. You can go to the nicest restaurant in Madison in jeans.
No.
Which is one of the reasons I love it.
So like the nice end of Boston, you can't do that. Boston's not known for being well-dressed. It is a lot of comfort first, survive the season, whatever season it is. It's a lot of sports sweatshirts. Same. So like we're not a fancy town by any means, but I have shame. I wouldn't wear pajamas out. Only once have I worn, and they're kind of nice, sweatpants to go pick up my kids from daycare. And I even texted my 2 best mom friends being like, you guys, just so you know, it's reached that point where I'm wearing sweatpants to go pick up my kids. And they were like, yes, that's us every day. That's a perfectly acceptable thing to do. That's not a problem.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I always feel like I have to have some level, and it's not a high level, but some level of put together to go outside.
Not me.
You're
I'm over
free.
it. I am.
You're free.
So I have, I think, a even better question
Yeah.
now that we all know that I am like a sewage rat when we go out and cool with it. I want to know, would you let Daniel Cleaver or Hugh Grant babysit your kids?
No, never in a million years. I laughed so hard when I saw that. No, he is not.
As he's teaching them how to make the dirty bitch martini?
But here's the worst part. Absolutely not. He is not someone who even knows, I don't think, like what a kid's needs are. He has a son he's like never met, right? Like he's not tuned in to how to take care of kids. But the worst part of all of it was that I think he did a better job talking to the kids about the loss of their father and grief and processing it than she does. Within one night.
Everybody did.
Everybody did.
Mr. Wallaker did.
Yeah.
Daniel did. Everybody else did but her. Yeah. And I know you have thoughts about that. So let's get into just some of the breakdown of what stood out to us, what was healthy, what wasn't, biggest love lessons. I was really mildly surprised at how checked out she was, because I'm like, it's 2025. Why would you not Google how to talk to your kids about their father dying? She has made up some stories and she expects everybody else to get on board with those stories. And I'm like, what are your thoughts?
I was shocked. And it made it hard. I was shocked. I was dismayed, disappointed. It really made it hard for me to get into her romance stories because all I kept thinking was, you have really let down your kids. And I can't see past that. It's been 4 years. Your daughter is still asking every man who comes into her life if it's going to be her new father. Your son clearly needs to talk and figure some stuff out about his grief and feelings. And you do not make any effort to address this with them or to outsource it. Find a therapist for your kids who need help and support right now. And she's just so self-absorbed and vapid to the point where I honestly thought, is she drugged? Has she drugged herself to cope with the grief? Truly, she's so not connected to reality and so not attentive to her kids. And there's a part of grief you can understand, the house falling apart, standards falling, having a hard time getting dressed, sure. But that didn't seem like grief. That seemed more like her just incompetence as an authority in the house. And I don't know, it made it hard for me. It made it hard to see.
It made it hard for me because, okay, so one moment, every person in her life is giving advice, which made me feel like gross, that she had no boundaries around that and they're giving her like the worst advice that ever existed. So there's that. Yeah. Next, she's like, I have no interest in dating anyone ever again, right? Like, Mark Darcy was my person, though it took 3 fucking movies for them to figure it out. Mark Darcy's my person, and now 4 years later, or whatever it is, he's gone. And I'm never dating again. Oh, wait.
I guess I am.
I am stooping. I'm stooping a kid who is literally close to 25 years younger than me.
Can I say something?
What?
That, you know what? We don't even have to get into their meet cute at this moment, but that was another example of bad parenting. Keep an eye on your kids. How do they get them in that tree, Bridget? Second of all, you can't get them out of the tree. This is a safety issue. I don't care if it's a young hot guy or if it's their teacher. If somebody can help your kids safely get out of a tree, say yes. Why is she?
Probably Chloe could have.
Freaking anybody. Where's Daniel when you need him?
I know.
So weird.
The thing I said in the beginning of this was self-inflicted awkward situations.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Life shows up and life is sometimes just weird and awkward and inconvenient and terrible and all of the things. But almost every situation that we see Bridget in is one she created herself by not being aware of her surroundings, not being thoughtful or intentional in any of her decisions. Like, I'm just, what?
Yeah.
I was just this wasn't even a romance. There was more time and energy given to Leah Woodall, aka
29-year-old.
Rockster. Right. And that's even a push because he's not even 29, I think, in real life. So that's even a bit of a push. And she's 55 in real life. So I'm like, come on, guys. Come on. Like, I would have loved to see her. Even to me, like somebody in his mid-late 30s is a pretty large
gap.
Gap. So like it felt dirty. Just as it would have felt dirty if it was exchanged, right?
Yes.
And we've talked about that. Like I talked about Richard Gere being 18 years older than Julia Roberts in both of those movies. And she is actually like 26 years older than him in real life. And that's just honestly too much. It's just too much for me.
Well, it's too much, especially because
it's just too much.
She didn't tell him directly when they disclose their ages. They're sort of, haha, yes, I'm at the age that you think I am.
Yeah, she wouldn't even admit to it.
Say how old you are. He should know that. You should be able to talk about that. And if you can't, then you shouldn't be hooking up. Okay. But also, we don't see them talk about it. This is obviously a huge age difference. Where are you in your life? What are you looking for? Do you want to have kids? Obviously, I can't carry our children if you want to have kids. Maybe I don't want to have kids. Where was any of that? Because we've seen so many movies come out in the last 12 months where there is a big age gap. You're like Baby Girl, right? If it's just a sexual relationship.
Idea of you.
I was going to say what I like about you. It's not that. But they talk about it. It's a core part of the relationship, and we see them grapple with it and navigate it. With this, it was like
as
blinders.
You would in real life.
Right.
As you would in real life if somebody is legitimately 25 years younger than you. You need to have conversations. And although he ghosted, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit, I feel like I felt bad for this kid having to grapple with all of that himself. Yeah. Like he came back, you could tell that he had to really think about, what it would be like to commit to her and the family. He's put more thought about it into her kids and the situation than she has.
I know.
So I felt bad that he came and he's like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like, oh my God, have you been sitting and worried for days or weeks about showing up as the potential father to these kids? When she knew, I think from day one, this wasn't really anything for her, right? It was fun. And she's like, he just started showing up in my inbox every day. And I loved that. And I'm not going to put any real thought into it because it doesn't matter. It's not like the father of my children or potentially anything.
Right. I'll just introduce him to my kids and have him sleep over and not worry about if the kids see him naked in my bedroom and they don't know who he is and I barely know who he is. Just no thought whatsoever. Yeah. And so when she rejects him after he comes back around in a very sweet way, in a very owning what he did way, her no, I can't do it, didn't feel empowering to me. It just felt like this false, you haven't done any work, Bridget. You haven't realized what was actually happening. You don't get to be the self-righteous one in this conversation.
No, you don't. And in fact, like I said, he put way more time and thought into this than she ever did. And he wasn't the one out of the two of them
who had kids,
who needed to do that or needed. And I honestly, I realize that he is a grown man. He's in his late 20s, but she is in her 50s. She has had a lot more life experiences, a lot more relationship experiences, and a lot more complicated, shall we say, due to all of these movies, relationship experiences that she should know better. Yeah. That she should have either said, I'm loving this. I'm loving what we're doing. It's only this, and you should know that.
Or it's more than this.
She should have
talk about what that looks like.
And we have to talk about what that looks like. Absolutely. Because, my heart kind of broke for this kid. He's sitting here probably really in his own head about, am I old enough to become a dad to these kids? And that wasn't really ever even a real thing.
No.
Which, how do you, as a mom, because I am not, but how do you, and I realize it sounds judgy, but you have a daughter who is legitimately asking every man, and I'm guessing we're doing that for comic relief.
Are you
going to be my daddy? Mm-hmm. And then you bring in a 28 or 9-year-old and hang out with him for a bunch of months. I mean, that's confusing to these kids. And come on.
And I think divorced parents have the same responsibility, right? Whether you're a mom or a dad, doesn't matter. If you have kids, you have to be so mindful of who you bring into their life. Making sure they're aware of the relationship that you have with this new person, how serious it is. Because if you're just bringing home everyone you go on a date with or a one-night stand with, That's very confusing and hard for kids. Like, they do need some stability. You don't want to bring someone in to have any kind of relationship unless you're sure it's going to be maybe a relationship that lasts, or you can define it so the kids know who this person is in their lives. And we just don't see her do that with Rockster.
She doesn't explain that to
or
them.
Mr. Wallaker.
Right.
It's just sort of like she does whatever she wants and the kids will figure it out.
And although I do believe kids are resilient, that's part of your responsibility when you become a parent.
Yeah.
And once again, she is not a 26-year-old widow here. She is a woman in her 50s.
Yeah.
This whole movie is, I wanted to see Bridget Jones grow up, and she did not. And it was to the point of shitty, unhealthy behavior that I just can't get behind.
Yeah. I totally agree.
And her friends were exactly the same as they were, gossipy and shitty, exactly like they were in the original one. Does no one evolve in this timeline or this world? No one?
Daniel evolves. He has a medical crisis. He reunites with his son. If Daniel is our measure of growth in the Bridget Jones world, we're all in trouble.
We're all in super trouble. But you said it, and I have to agree. Hugh Grant, I did watch some behind the scenes stuff, and he said this was a really lovely movie about grief and moving on and all of that stuff. He's like, they had to really find places for me to come in. But thank God they did, because he was like the only decent comic relief in this for me.
Yeah.
And you're right. We actually see growth. We do see him a year later trying to now have a relationship with his son, making some changes. I wish that I could see Bridget doing the same thing in her own fucking story. But whatevs.
You know, even the title is giving it away, right? Mad about a boy.
Mad about the boy.
It's like that.
Yeah,
that's 20-year-old stuff too. I mean, which boy? Leo? We're talking about Rockster. She's infatuated with Rockster.
I would like to think be about her kids, but guess that's not it.
Well, we need a spin-off movie with Daniel's son. And to see him go from being a Daniel to growing up because he meets the right person who makes him realize he's being a dick and needs to be better. That's a movie that I would like to watch.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
That accent.
I literally would have enjoyed a 10-minute movie about Daniel Cleaver and his journey rather than forcing myself to have to watch this, because I did it like 1.5, because I wanted to go back and go, did I miss the romance?
I know.
Did I miss something here? And so I went back and watched the last third, and then I was like, nope. There really
comes out of nowhere.
Was no rhyme or reason of why they would be together.
No.
Whatsoever.
No. But
I did want to say, dating as a widow, I'd love to throw that on your lap as a couples therapist. If somebody here is listening or they know somebody, what should they keep in mind if they are going to be dating specifically with kids as a widow or widower? Or how do we say that?
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
guess
actually
widower.
sure
I don't know.
Anymore?
I mean, I think it's the same things that I would mainly recommend for people who are divorced. You got to know if you're ready, right? Have you grieved enough? And you don't have to be over the loss. Sometimes you will never be over that loss. It will always have a place in your heart. So you don't have to be past it fully. But like, do you feel ready for a new person to actually have a chance with you? And are you looking for that? Do you want someone back in your life? We don't see Bridget really be ready. We see her getting pushed into it on a dating app, and then she sort of falls into it. So like, be intentional about when you feel like you are ready to get back out there. Know what you're looking for. Is it casual? Are you looking for another serious partner, right? If you're just going out there, meeting people at random like she does, you're going to end up with a bunch of random relationships. And here's the thing. If you have kids, they are your priority. You don't get to put yourself first. Exactly. You do have to make sacrifices. So if you have kids, think about protecting them and prioritizing them. Don't go out every single night just because you're ready to date again or ready to hook up. You have to be a steady person for your children. You're all they have, right? Or they've got other people in their life, but like you're the primary parent because the other person's gone. So you have to be consistent, and don't be bringing people home at random. You've got to know who you're bringing home, if it's the right time, if that new person is ready to meet your kids. You have to be able to define that.
They are a safe enough person.
If they're safe
to meet your kids.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to be able to explain what your relationship is to your kids. And if you can't do that, then you're not ready for your kids to meet that person.
This is similar to what I would say to anybody who is dating or a single parent, right? Whether you're grieving or not after divorce, it's just like, you're ready when you're ready and nobody should be telling you. Mm-hmm. The fact that, and we see this regularly, like people signing up for their friends on Tinder or Match.com. Stop doing that. Stop thinking that's okay. Stop pushing people. We don't love to talk about all of the crappy things that happen in online dating that I know about because this is what I do for a living. And there's a lot of not safe people out there. Things that happen that you and your kids should not be a part of, right? In fact, I would recommend people not online dating. I would recommend them actively going out, meeting new people so then they know they can trust them. And the fact that everybody was like, you need to get it back out there. You need to get back out there. Stop doing that, people. Stop telling people when they're ready. The results that can happen when you force yourself into that situation can be really bad. And just let's stop doing that.
But she does a lot of things.
Stop doing that.
I mean, she goes to this dinner party she doesn't want to go to, right? Like this opening scene. She ends up at this terrible dinner party where she's getting insulted. But she goes to that because she feels like she has to. She leaves the dating app on her phone because somebody set it up. It's like she's just letting life happen to her and she's reacting. That's the whole story. But to pivot entirely, she gets caught in dating this much younger man, and he straight up definition of ghosts her. Hardcore ghosts her. Her response, I have a lot of feelings about too, but can you walk us through ghosting, what it is, what people should do about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is something, man, things that I did not foresee as a potential problem 15 years ago, right? I started this business 17 years ago, before smartphones were a thing. I always say that the person who invented texting was like, oh, this will be great so that if your friend's in a restaurant and you're running late, you can type, I am running late without having to call them and interrupt them. No, we've created it as a new form of communication, and it is a flawed one. So ghosting, if you don't know, it's just somebody who you've usually been seeing maybe just once or twice, or could be months, who just all of a sudden ghost. They go away. They don't say anything. They don't tell you where they've gone. They aren't telling you why. They're giving you no information. They just fly away into the night, right? Like that's what happens. And it's a whole new shitty part of dating that didn't really exist before this. People come to me and I feel really bad, like they did something wrong. They start overthinking everything they said, everything they did. And I want people to have the mindset of, if somebody ghosts you, they have just shown you where their relationship maturity level is.
That's all the information you need.
Should listen.
Yeah, you've gotten your information.
It's all the information you need. If you're over the age of, I'm going to say 25 just to be kind.
You are kind.
People under 25 should be doing this too. But if you are over the age of 25 and you cannot send a gentle thank you, but I'm not interested in moving forward text, work on yourself. Because that should be the basics of dating.
Because there is etiquette, right? I feel like there's no rules with dating anymore, but there's basic human etiquette that shouldn't be lost just because we're in this lawless time where dating has no script. Is that fair to say? Human etiquette?
I think it's totally fair. I mean, we have to. And just because something becomes a thing doesn't mean it should be a thing. Ghosting should not be a thing. It shouldn't, because if you're a grown-ass person dating, you should be able to have basic communication skills. And that's all this is. So if for some reason you are the ghoster, because I know plenty of people are, also have been ghosted, but are also the ghoster because they don't want to hurt people's feelings. They don't want to let them down. Just don't do it. Clear as kind. Be as honest as possible so that the other person has as clear of answers that they can. And they're stuck to feel bad about themselves or wonder. You only owe them honesty and kindness. And it's shitty.
It sucks.
Right? Just resist the urge to lie and to not be the bad guy or not hurt their feelings, because that doesn't help anybody. And I do have a couple of really short scripts here that I am going to share in the show notes with everybody. If you guys want to download it as a little something for you. I first of all have a couple of scripts to use instead of ghosting somebody, because sometimes people are like, I don't know what to say. And I keep it just very simple, to the point. It's been so lovely getting to know you. I don't see us moving forward any further. I wish you success in all you do.
Done. Yeah, don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of why or what happened. You can just let the person know, let them free. And this is the important part, not make them wonder, not make them make up stories in their head as to what happened, what they did wrong, what you were doing the whole time. Just like you said, being clear is incredibly kind. So I love that script.
I also just have this other one that I've enjoyed our dates, but I want to be upfront with you. I don't feel we're compatible for the long term. I truly wish you happiness and success in all you do. That's all it needs to be, right? Now, if you've been dating that person for years or even for lots of months, then there should be a much bigger conversation, right? But if this has been a few dates or a short time,
that's plenty.
That's it. That's all you need, and that's all you need to do. And then I do think that if somebody ghosts you, you get to respond to that. Why wouldn't you? If that person's choosing to not reach out to you, and they may block you, and who knows what happens. But I have given my people the script to use over and over again, and I think it is fair and I think it is kind, which is, I'm not sure what happened, but it was disappointing not hearing back from you. I hope in the future, if you're not ready or not interested, you just let people know. It's the kind thing to do, and kindness is a prerequisite for love and relationships.
This is the best, because I think that's fantastic. I would endorse that 100%. Kira, in no world would I do it because of who I am. Because if you ghost me, guess what? I can ice you out too. I will never, ever reach out to you. Ever.
And what would Dr. Isabel say about that?
She would say, good job, Isabel. She would say, wait.
Would she? Well, remind me to never become your dating coach. Remind me that if anything changes in your life, I'm just teasing.
Well, I think you can do either, and both are totally great. I think it's great to send that message that you did, because it's just letting the person know how you felt and recommending they reflect on their behavior and not do it in the future. Love that. But you also don't owe someone who ghosted you anything. Absolutely. So I think either way is great.
To me, it just, I think, creates a little self-closure that maybe we need. That I made a statement that was important to me to let them know that how they acted wasn't okay. I'm not going to hang on it. I'm not going to, think about it too much longer. But ultimately, in my perfect world, talking about healthy dating for years and years, basic communication to me is basic. It's the foundations. It's important. And if you can't do that, then you really need to review if you're ready for a long-term relationship.
Yeah, because you know what? Ending a relationship is incredibly hard, awkward, painful. But being in a relationship can be very hard, awkward, painful. So you have to be able to do it no matter what is happening. So let me ask you this. Bridget gets ghosted and certainly reaches out. She does not pull an Izzy and say nothing. She says everything. We see must be pages of her texting.
Oh, I don't know if I saw. Maybe that's because I was blacking out being unhappy with the movie. But I didn't see it was pages. But for sure, reaching again and again and again is unhelpful, right? That person has chosen for whatever reason. So that's why I'm saying you reach out a couple of times. If you don't hear from them,
call it
now
a day.
You know. Knowing's half the battle, G.I. Joe. And then we call it. But if you feel like you need to reach out, that little script is a great way to do it in a way that says, I'm teaching you how to treat me moving forward, or I hope you treat people a little bit better. And I do want to say, if in any way you feel unsafe, if you feel like that person may
come at you,
unleash on you or call you names or whatever, you don't owe them anything. You block them and you move the fuck on, right? That's all you do. I want to say that, ghosting is okay if there is safety at risk.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point, actually, because some people who are trying to get out of an abusive situation, even if it was brief, right? For those people, I say, there are no rules. Like, you are allowed to block and end it and not tell them why and not address it. If it's that level, you just get out in whatever way is the safest and makes the most sense. We're talking about generally healthy relationships. This is what you would do, but it's good to remember that it's a different scenario if there's a lack of safety.
Will they make it?
Oh, who are we talking about, Kira? The guy the whole movie is about, or the one she ends up with? No.
What do we think that Daniel Cleaver and the host might make it together? I'm kidding. I'm like picking all the other random couples because it makes no sense to me that they would be together, her and Scott Wallaker, aka the stunning, fantastic actor Chiwetel Ejiofor, that I've been practicing that name now for a whole day. I mean, I think he is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
And I have loved him since the early 2000s. I'm going to root for him probably in almost anything because I just think that he is an incredible actor. But man, he got wasted in this as far as I'm concerned.
I didn't love him. I know. He was the angry
like, what was the point?
Whistleblower, and then he is like being too rigid about science, but then he totally flip-flops and is willing to throw science out the window to finally talk to her son about grief because she refuses to. And then he likes her, but I'm not sure why. Yeah, he didn't have a thread here.
But here's what came up for me that I thought was really interesting. Because I was sitting here thinking Helen Fielding or Renee or all the people who were together in putting this movie together. And I thought about the very first movie with Mark Darcy and Colin Firth and everything. The love story wasn't really any deeper, meaning that Mark Darcy's just this guy who kind of comes around when she's being awkward or doing kind of weird things. And at the end, he declares his love for her and they're together. That's kind of what they did here. But I have to say,
it's not cute.
It's not cute anymore. That was super like 90s, early 2000s behavior. Like,
yes.
You know, where we have people meet and talk for 10 seconds and then they go home together or supposedly are in love. Like, I just want
real
more and better because we are seeing more and better come out in these smaller movies, in these limited series that are beautiful and emotionally intelligent and so good. This was like, honestly, like it kind of ruined Bridget Jones for me. Something that I kind of loved. And like I said, was part of kind of my growing up and everything else.
But she didn't grow up.
And that sucks.
Seeing her not advance at all really makes it seem like she wasn't just young and awkward and figuring it out. Like, and I say this not to be a jerk, but like she has serious work to do. Like she's socially impaired in some serious ways. So it's not just she's young, she's getting it. It's like, oh no, like someone needs to help her.
We have a new section called If They Were Our Clients, right? And the first thing I write in capital letters is Bridget needs therapy and a shit ton of boundaries. She needs so much therapy. And you and I briefly talked about it. And we don't get in a lot into acting and why people choose to play the roles or whatever. But Bridget just felt so checked out.
Not there at all.
Like she was like playing a role in some
life.
kind of movie that is her life.
Yes.
Right? And just like you said, just kind of going along with it and then wondering when it doesn't turn out why it didn't turn out instead of knowing or acknowledging her role in it.
Yeah.
Which is just really immature behavior and not great role modeling for her kids in any way either. So to me, she needed therapy and how to talk to her kids about death and grieving, to make conscious decisions about dating and relationship and what would be good for all of them. Mm-hmm. Her jealousy over the super helpful nanny.
That was bizarre.
It's just, once again, bizarre and weird. Why would you not be so thankful that somebody is helping love and take care of your kids in such a beautiful fucking way while you figure your life out again? Yeah. I feel like any woman I know who is a mom would be like,
you're a godsend.
And it's not that you don't have tinges of, oh my God, is this nanny doing better than me? It's not that you don't get to have tinges of,
do the kids like them better?
Right. Like, I think that's very common. But her whole having to make an announcement that Chloe can come to the Christmas concert. We're okay. We're allowing her a ticket after she like spends all, doing a great job raising your kid. And then just to set boundaries with all the people in her life because it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. So I wouldn't even take on Bridget until she's had a shit ton of therapy, right? Like,
I thought you meant as her therapist.
You're not dating.
I wouldn't take her on as her therapist.
No, but I mean, there are people that come to me and I just said, hey,
you're not ready.
It feels like there's some therapy stuff that you need to do first. And I send them to therapists, right? And once you kind of heal some stuff, I can help you get dating. But if you're just going to get stuck along the way in a bunch of different ways,
there's no point.
Then there's no point. So to me, she would not be my client until after some big ass work with you or a therapist. I guess you wouldn't take her on. So
I don't see individuals anymore anyway. But yeah, I agree that she needs a lot of therapy. Her insight is very low. And it made sense when she was young and just like living. But she has very poor self-awareness, which means that she makes very bad decisions. She has poor judgment as a result because she is not self-reflecting. She is not aware of what she's doing. Nothing is intentional. She's just reacting to the world around her. And those people are like Bridget. They just sort of like throw darts at a wall and see what works and react to the world around them and sort of feel bad for themselves when things happen. And they're just floating through life. And she gets close to like the victim mindset, of like, this just happens to me. But like, she doesn't ever think her contribution to anything that's going on in her life. So I said she 100% needs therapy. She has to learn how to respond to what people are saying to her, like some social skills training. I would go that basic with her. Like things just happen to her and then she has to deal with them, but then the men sort of figure it out for her. She doesn't ever have to figure out her own life. These men show up. They pursue her. They figure it out for her. So that's very disempowering. And it's supposed to be an empowering movie about a woman who goes through awkward stuff, whatever it is. But in the end, men are just saving her from herself. And I don't love that message.
That is the opposite of helpful, right?
Yes.
To not be intentional in your choices, to not recognize what you're doing and how it's affecting your life and your kids, to not be present enough to be aware of your surroundings and how to respond in a way that gets better results than what's happened in the past. I was excited to see a 50-year-old Bridget become the slightly
still goofy,
inappropriate, goofy, but powerhouse of a woman that if she chooses to date or have a relationship, great, but this just wasn't it, man. No. It was not it. But I did find some trivia. We haven't had trivia for the last couple because stuff is so coming out so quick and we're kind of getting on top of it so quick because we're amazing that we haven't found trivia. But because this is a fourth installment and there was a lot of, like I said, nods and winks and Easter eggs to the original movie or movies, I do have some kind of trivia, which is, so number one, in the last scene on New Year's Eve, where we go ahead a year and supposedly they're now in a relationship, although who knows how they got there. Billy Darcy, so the young son, is wearing the same jumper as his father, Mark Darcy, in the first movie.
Aww.
So I thought that was very cute. The two see-through top that she is trying on when she's choosing her first date for Rockster is the same top she wore to the office in the very first Bridget Jones to attract Daniel. So that was actually from that first movie. Same with his penguin pajamas. Those were from all the previous films. And then I did appreciate, this was my, like kind of, I think I clapped, right? So there's that scene where Rockster sees the dog in the water.
Oh, that was good.
Out of like somewhere.
The dog who's clearly like swimming and just fine.
Right. Exactly. Jumps in and then comes out, and it's a total nod to Colin Firth coming out of the water and his original Pride and Prejudice. And so I did have a nostalgic,
mad
like,
respect. Yeah.
Yes, like nicely done moment. I appreciate it. He's wearing a very similar outfit.
That's funny.
And I mean, that was not a terrible
it wasn't a bad view. No, but it was also weird as fuck. Can I just say that? He shows up, he jumps into the pool, the dog was swimming in just fine, and then he doesn't even they start making out in front of everyone. I don't understand.
Oh my God. After her friends are like,
he doesn't exist.
I'm like, your friends.
Yeah, they're not nice.
Wow. I know. So did we like this movie? I can't tell.
I thought it was going to be a much more positive experience doing this recording than it was. But I
did too.
That was also before I saw the movie. I thought we were going to try to pull out more
know.
Positivity, but actually there just wasn't a lot there.
No, I didn't even find it entertaining. I feel like I could have gotten behind this whole shtick if at least it was better done and was funnier and whatever. But to me, it just was like all over the place.
It was too serious.
You know, it's
too serious. You can't take that kind of intense grief with kids, getting your life together, and throw in these casual, fun relationships without the audience thinking, okay, but are you taking care of your kids? They lost their dad. Is that right? Like it wasn't light enough and it wasn't heavy enough. It tried to combine the two and they didn't fit.
I know. I don't know how it got the reviews that it did. I realized that, first of all, we look at movies very differently than the average person, right? So we are picking them apart to talk about the relationships and what's happened. But just the same, like, we did You're Cordially Invited recently.
Loved that.
And it was hilarious. So
funny.
Even though the romance was a push, right? I was like, whatever, this was funny. It had funny scenes and I enjoyed it. This did not entertain me. It did not
move me
in the way that I thought it should. And let me tell you, when I found out that they killed off Colin Firth, I was already moved. They could have got me crying within minutes and they just didn't. It just felt
meh.
I don't know.
Well, that's a great segue into...
And this is with perimenopause crying girl over here. So if I'm not crying...
You're an easy audience.
So tacos.
Okay, I gave it a 2 overall. And honestly, I felt bad about this because I have good feelings towards Bridget Jones. I gave it a 2 love lessons as well, being generous, just because, again, I feel bad. How about you?
I gave it a 2, but I did give it a 1 for love lessons because I actually think there were no redeeming love lessons.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I literally think that there was not
one good.
More than 1 or 2 small things. Like
Daniel.
Emma Thompson. Yeah, and then Daniel. Yeah. Those were the 2 characters that I thought brought some sanity or some growth to the roles. But otherwise, these are not good lessons. There are movies that I do recommend to my clients. You get to see a great example of boundaries, or this is a great example of how to do vulnerability really well, or whatever. Like, I would not tell anybody that this has life lessons. In fact, do the opposite of those things. Don't date. Get in therapy when it feels good. Get your kids in therapy. Go to a grief group. And if anything, it's 2025. We have online. There are so many ways
many resources
to get help and support now. Right? So, like, to me, like, her lack of knowledge and how to talk to our kids, I'm going to say it was just downright negligent.
I kind of feel that way.
With the resources that we have nowadays.
Yeah, she was constantly surprised that her kids were struggling with the loss of their father. You know, people kept telling her, oh, he's having a hard time. Oh, really? You should not be surprised. You should be the first one to know how your kids are feeling about the loss of their father.
100%. And the fact that her son had to keep finding other people to talk to about it rather than his mom, that tells me so much about the relationship and like what her grieving process has been and how safe that they feel with her about it.
Well, this is why Rockster didn't try to talk to her about his feelings. She is not interested, okay? She does not want to know.
Rockster, go find yourself a nice woman.
The babysitter.
Late 20s, early 30s.
Babysitter.
Totally.
Fantastic.
Or I was
she,
thinking
like, too young?
Daniel Cleaver's son.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he was, of course, hitting on like 40-something-year-old women. I was like, okay, I see that's going to be a theme. And I'm just like, why would he not be hitting on the super hot Chloe?
Right there.
Who is his age?
That was weird.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on this episode of RomCom Rescue. We've laughed, we've analyzed, and we definitely had feelings about the love lessons behind this movie.
Now it's your turn. Tell us what you think. Was this rom-com relationship goals or, like we thought, a total disaster? / which relationship are we even talking about? Vote in our Instagram polls and DM us your hot takes.
Make sure you follow, subscribe, and leave a review if you love what we do. It helps us bring more rom-com magic and real talk your way. Because at the end of the day,
we believe that we create our own happily ever afters. And Daniel Cleavers make good friends. They don't make good partners.
I don't even know if they make good
He was there.
He's so inappropriate.
But he showed
every second of every movie.
He left his, 12-year-old girlfriends reading to be there for her.
Poetry slam, kind of. Yeah. Oh my God.
And
Daniel.
We have nothing good to say about this movie.